of relate to when pre-show we were talking about leaders and having influence and not just being a leader. How can we bring that together for the people out there who are in a leadership position?
So that's understanding framing, right? But that's influencing an experience, but that's not influencing behavior, which is a whole nother side. And so if I need to get in set a vision, or I'm trying to get a realtor to work with me and to trust me, there's a whole nother side to it. And we have to implement 3 steps, and it's frame, message, and then tie down. And the tie down is where the value is created, where influence happens. And so what she was trying to do is ensure and manage expectations. And by, claiming the frame, I had a great experience. And so the frame, best way to illustrate the 3 processes are, I'll give you a simple, what's your favorite color, Keith?
My favorite color, green.
Green. And Stacey, your favorite color?
Blue.
You're not going to come on, Stacey. You've been trained up.
My favorite color is yellow because it reminds me of being in Hawaii with the sunshine and being on the beach with my family. And every time I see the color yellow, it reminds me of this wonderful experience I had with my family on the beach.
Beautiful. And so now that was a 5 out of 10, right? So the 10 out of 10 would have been every time I get a chance to go to Hawaii, I go with my family and we have some of the best experiences. The sun is shining. We have time. We're not working, and some of the greatest experiences happen. And the sun is this beautiful yellow and the flowers are yellow. So it reminds me of that time. So my favorite color is yellow, to save yellow for the last, right? Okay. And so we tell people, the part of it's like learning the score of the game before the game starts, right? You don't want that. It's, right. Knowing who won the fight before the fight. You don't want to watch the fight anymore, right? So if you tell us yellow too soon, then we don't want to watch. So that's one step. So that's called framing first. She did the frame and then she answered the question, right? That little sequence. The tie down, though, answers a different question of what that means to you. Right. So I'll give you another example. I was helping an executive get ready for and this is in the book. This is in my first TED Talk. I outlined this. And Janice, the story of Janice, the one I'm going to illustrate, is sort of a theme that kind of follows throughout the whole book. She was taking over $1 billion business unit within a very large organization. And in that, excuse me, and in that, we asked that there was a 9-hour interview that she had to be a part of. And 10, 11, 8 people, I forget how many people were part of that interview. And it's very, very intense. And so we did a mock interview with her. I put 3 people in front of her, and I would sit off to the side. We'd ask her questions. I'd look for sequencing, timing, facial expressions, all the things that I look for. And so the first question was, tell us something you're proud of. And she answered like most people were taught, which was short, concise, and to the point. She hitched her coat, looked at us and said, I got straight A's my last year in school. It was one of my proudest moments. Of course, real straight answer. The problem was she didn't provide a frame. And so what happens in the brain, remember, frames construct reality. And the brain does not do well without understanding reality. So if you don't give me the frame, my brain's going to create one for you. And so, because I have to, it's science, right? I have to understand. So I'm going to construct from my experience. So she said, for straight A's my last year in school. And they said, Renee, what'd you think? And I said, okay, so there was no frame. So I said, okay, so straight A's your last year in school? I started framing her. I said, so you're a procrastinator? You're going to procrastinate for us as well? She looks at me like I'm crazy. I said, oh, sorry. Did mom and daddy pay for school so you didn't have to work that hard? Is that what happened? And now she's literally has a tear in her eye. And I said, now, Janice, I didn't mean any of those words that I said. I said, but you didn't give us a frame. So we have no idea what straight A's your last year in school means. But I do know it was important to you, wasn't it? And she just nodded her head. And I said, why? It took her a minute and a half to compose herself. And she looks at me and she says, when you've been told you're stupid your entire life by adults, you tend to believe them. And something happened my last year in school where either I told them, I said I was either going to believe them forever or I was going to do something about it. And I did something about it. It's like, okay, so now.
Okay, that gave me tingles there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
That's completely different.
And that feeling you're feeling, this is what I try to tell people. Pay attention to what happens when a frame works its magic.
Right.
Here I told you the same story. All I did was change the sequence. And so now all of a sudden you start with the frame because the frame dictates the message. And so we say, okay, so now let's pretend I'm interviewing for both of you. The tie down is the third part where influence happens. The movement, the tingles, is the emotional movement that happens. And we need movement that engages people and creates the emotion and the movement. But where do you point all that emotion? If you do nothing else, you're just inspirational and you're just kind of motivational, and then the emotion comes up and then it just starts to go away, right? It has to. Homeostasis forces it to. And so the tie down says all the emotions there. Let's focus it like a laser towards what we call an influence objective. And that influence objective is your IO. Hers is to get the job. So if I want to get the job, Stacy and Keith, you guys are hiring me, and you ask me that question, I'm going to answer in the frame message tie down sequence. And it sounds like this. Tell me something you're proud of. I'd say, unfortunately, growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of adults that told me I wasn't real smart. And when adults speak to you that way as a kid, you didn't act that way. And so I did not do real well in school. But something happened my last year in school where I looked myself in the mirror and I said, either I'm going to believe them forever or I'm going to do something about it. And so I went out and got the help that I needed, put my nose to the grindstone, and I'm proud to tell you, message, I got straight A's my last year in school, tie down. Now, Keith, I'm assuming if I do get a chance to work with you and your team, that there are going to be times our back's going to be against the wall and we're going to be facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. But I promise you this, if I do get a chance to be on your team, I will be out there next to you, if not out in front, overcoming those challenges in the same way I overcame them in my own personal life, but this time for you and for your team. Frame, message, tie down.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, and what happens now is that you took all the emotion and you go, now I know what it means to me. It means that she's a fighter, that she's resilient, that she's going to be right there next to me. And yeah, we're going to face some big challenges. And these are the kinds of people I can teach them the rest. This is who I got to hire. So that's where the influence happens, is on the tie down.